Recognize that your mental health is so important. If you don't, then I promise you'll be so distorted. Stiffened by your thoughts, that's a mental rigor mortis. I'm on a hard mission and it won't be aborted. Assorted memories will seem to be your remedy, but in your darkest hour, form into your enemies. Trust your gut, judge people off their energy. Cut them off quick and fast, they are limiting your room to grow.
You're listening to the Expect Effect podcast, where the concept of self-care is our primary focus. Consider this an acknowledgement of feeling, the birth of every great idea within you. This is your weekly dose of me time, and I'm your host. It's just Nakia. You can follow me on Instagram and Facebook at It's Just Nakia. We also have personal pages dedicated to the show at the Expect Effect podcast on Instagram and Facebook. Listen, I'm so glad you're here. We know that life is hard, especially in the current climate and circumstances, but we personally believe that self-care doesn't have to be. So sit back, relax, and unwind as we together uncover ways to truly expect better, do better, and believe better. Listen, I want to come in here a lot of times and have a really great wind down segment for you guys, where you come into my living room and I've got some snacks and drinks ready for you guys. But honestly, on quarantine, that's a little hard. There just hasn't been as much popping. But per the usual, if no one else is asking, I'm asking, how are you? How are things? Where are we improving? Where are we failing? Where are we seeing highs? Where are we seeing lows? Where are we having successes? Where are we having losses? What are we experiencing? Social distancing really does look different for everyone. You have essential workers on the front lines going in. You have people like myself working from home. You have individuals who aren't working right now. You have people who are trying to parent, to be spouses, to be children, taking care of their elderly parents, trying to get them to stay home. I had a little bit of an incident like that myself this week. I got a visit from my grandmother, but when she got here, she had no idea where she was going or how to get where she was trying to go. She was like, I can't remember things like I used to. And I was like, man, there we go. Just more impeding pressure, right? And things happening around us. And one thing I've noticed is, life has to continue per the same path that was going on pre-corona. Before anything happened, before that girl ever showed her face, there was real shit going on. There's going to be real shit that happens in the midst of it and real shit that happens after it. And also there are real people whose lives have been affected. When I think about all of the parents, siblings, spouses, friends that I have heard have lost their lives to this virus, I see social media posts. It's hard to take it, especially when it is more severe in some areas and less severe in others. So there's notably and understandably a lot of confusion, a lot of questions, and just a lot still happening. I know many of you are restless, but I implore you, just stay safe. Do whatever that means for you. I'm nobody's mama and I'm nobody's preacher, but I am ultimately another concerned citizen. Keep 6 feet distance, wash your hands, do what you gotta do. And don't let this be the thing that takes you out this year if you can avoid it. I think staying home is probably the best bet as much as you can, right? We do have to go somewhere sometimes, but just be smart about it, as smart as you can be. And speaking of which, on this particular topic, there are different views, different perceptions, different ideas of how a situation should be handled. And that got me to thinking. I drafted this topic a little while back, but it really fits into today's situation. Now, the episode is called Depth Perception, but really just focuses around the idea of perception. Now, if you're wanting to know per se the difference between perception and the term depth perception, then I would say Google is your best friend, and she's not going to be here with me today, but we do have plenty to talk to you about when it comes to perception. Shifting your perspective. Are you working with less or more? That all depends depends on you. An article written in Psychology Today titled Head Shrinker's Guide to the Galaxy, Is Your Glass Half Empty or Half Full? Had this to say: perspective influences everything. We do not see our lives in purely objective terms. We are subjective creatures, rather. We see through a filter. We have biases. And as I like to say, everyone has a personality, and that personality alters our perceptions. Introverts see life differently than do extroverts. Pessimists have a different take on life than optimists or even realists. If you have a leaning towards depression, then your sense of life takes on that gray sheen. If you're somewhat anxious, everything revs at a slightly higher speed. So it's a clear indication that our emotions are a direct filter on our perception. But one thing I challenge you to do is to overcome your reality with what you know your truth to be. And some people may say that this is optimistic thinking, and that's not true. This isn't saying that you fail to acknowledge the stress in your life. It does, however, equate to healthy coping mechanisms when we truly pit reality against truth. First, you need to assess what you have control over and what you don't. For example, the reality is my rent is due. I had to come out the pocket about $500+ and I do not have an additional $500 to spend. So you could say that currently the situation is looking a little bleak. Say if I needed an oil change or groceries in addition to the rent I just paid, but I only had my rent money to begin with. That's the reality. The truth of the situation may be, however, that you've recently been doing a number of job applications. You had a really great interview last Tuesday. You actually got a call back from another employer and you're working towards something, but the uncertainty of your reality is preventing you from seeing the work you're doing towards your future. Now, that's a very loose end example, and in no situation or circumstance can you always just so readily find a job. But it really is a matter of perspective. If you can't control how much money you have in your pocket right this second, right, there's nothing you can do about that. That doesn't suddenly mean to take in this aura of, damn, my life is shit. I'm so broke. I'm so tired. I hate this. You speak life over yourself. If you don't want it to come back to you, don't say it. So if you don't want to stay broke, don't speak on it like that. If you don't want to stay angry or pent up with those emotions, start to work through those things. But don't say things like that's just how I am, or this is just what it's gonna be, or damn, I mean, the shit's just unfortunate. Like there's no reason to capture that perspective on it. When you truly assess what you have control over and what you don't, you're then able to move forward in a very free way and make sure you're only putting your energy over the things you can control, like your attitude or your work ethic. Was that the thing that led you to the unemployment line? Was your work ethic? Was it company changes that you couldn't have done anything about? There's no way to go back and fix what has happened. That breakup's not going to change. The things you did that made you a terrible person in 2018 still exist. Thus, you may have been a shitty ass person in 2018, but now here in 2020, you're changed, you're renewed, you're refined, but you can't do anything about what was. So therefore, you also cannot do anything about the perspectives others may hold of you from things you used to do at that time. You can't control other people's ideas of you. You can't control how they perceive you. So why worry over that? Why stress over that? Why harbor over that? And why allow other people's view to shift your own? We've talked about the issue of comparison and really just necking yourself like right up against someone. It really doesn't make sense. The only person you should be focused on is yourself, your emotions, your standpoint. Your viewpoint is something you can control. How you handle and respond to situations, that's something you can control. The type of partner you are, that's something you can control. The type of daughter you are is something you can control. But life's elements, coronavirus, cancer, those are things we cannot control. Recessions, there are things that we as individuals could not have gone out and stopped on our own. So we just kind of have to roll with the punches there. And that's not me being whimsical or putting my issues aside. That's just me saying there are certain things that are really going to get a lot of my attention. They're going to get a lot of my energy. They're going to get a lot from me. And that's something that can literally be done by me inserting myself into the situation. There will be something that's gained, not just me throwing myself out there for the sake of what? Like further expanding my, expensing my emotions and now being drained. Now I'm upset even more so. Now I'm even more depressed. Now I'm even more angry because I haven't properly assessed what I have control over and what I don't. So my glass always looks half empty because I'm just so focused on trying to give a reason to things that don't need to have reason. You will not always have an explanation for the shitty things in life that happen to you. Maybe you didn't deserve it, but that doesn't mean that all of a sudden the world is working against you, or that people are working against you, or that everything in your life is stacked up against you. The second thing is to always make time to acknowledge areas of your life that leave room for gratitude. Once you do this and say, look, I can't stress over anything I can't control, nor am I going to let things I can't control shift my perspective. Even if I didn't deserve it, it happened. It happened. What was, and I can't fix that. But I can acknowledge the areas of my life that leave room for me to be thankful. Like, man, I lost my job this week, but my rent's still gonna be paid, fortunately. Man, we broke up, but what I learned from that relationship, or honestly, I didn't even like the way he chewed his food. So I'm glad to be done with that anyway. It's about finding something to laugh about, finding something to smile about, finding something to pull yourself up by the bootstraps, even when it doesn't seem like it's there. There will be times and moments and situations in your life where nobody is in your corner but you. It will be you, your pillow, your blanket. You may not even have that. You may have a car. You may be out on the street. There is going to be a point. It's just going to be you. And you have to decide how you're going to get you out of this situation. Not me, not your mama, not your friends, not your best friend, not your ex-girlfriend, not your next thing, but you. And the only way you're going to become the version of yourself that you want to see is by, one, assessing what you have control over and what you don't, and making sure to we've talked about this, leaving room for areas of gratitude is the same as celebrating small wins. It's the same as patting yourself on the back as you're, kind of trucking along. It's that same concept. And then the last thing is to learn the benefits of unplugging and assessing your surroundings. Sometimes I think one of the primary ways we get caught up and screwed up in our perception is by hopping on social media, and we see people with nice cars, nice houses, nice relationships. You see a girl was doing down bad when y'all graduated, and now she up, got a man, somebody housing her up, taking her up, and you still waiting for the same dude you've been waiting for since y'all graduated together back when she was doing bad. And you just may not understand that. This isn't a time for you to look at her situation and wonder how you can be more like that. It is a time for you to look at your situation, however, and figure out how you can gain more satisfaction from that. If you assess your surroundings and find that you're simply unhappy with them, past anything you're trying to post on social media to flex on somebody else or make it look like a particular type of thing, past anything else you're doing, if nobody was looking and it was just you, if it couldn't be posted, if it couldn't be read, if it couldn't be tweeted, if it couldn't be if it couldn't be seen by outside eyes, are you happy with it? Does it suit you? Do you like it? Is it something that's really feeding you? Or is your home environment part of the reason you feel your glass is half empty? Because you're not really taking care of that on the forefront, because you've been too busy focusing on what you don't control. You're not taking any room or leaving any room to celebrate your small wins, so you're not even seeing lights of positivity from other places. And now you don't even understand the benefits unplugging. So you're just sitting here scrolling on social media, comparing your life to other people. You've taken no gratitude checks, and it's a very high possibility the person sitting next to you may not be feeding into you, but you haven't taken the time to assess any of those factors. So when you're really looking at your situation and surroundings, you're able to break down these points and say, well, damn, this is what I can control in my home. This is what doesn't make me happy here. This is something that I am grateful for, well, damn, maybe I do need to change something. And comparison doesn't serve or suit me because everybody in some way or another is dealing with something behind the scenes they don't want you to know about. Everybody is. Nobody is who they appear to be. And that's no shade. That's just saying there are things I know we are all taking to the grave with us. Do you hear me? There are things we're just never going to talk about. So that issue of comparison just really shouldn't exist because we have no idea the struggle of the next man. Assess what you have control over and what you don't. In this, it'll help you see the glass is half full because in reality, that's all it ever is. Life will constantly and consistently take away from us, but it is our job to feed into ourselves and make sure that we're staying solid. Always make time to acknowledge areas of your life that leave room for gratitude. Be thankful and say thank you to self as much as possible. Learn the benefits of unplugging. Don't compare. Assess your surroundings. Does anything need to change here? Or is this actually somewhere I should be spending more time to find peace? Only you can answer those questions, and we're actually about to step into full effect with none other than Too Deep, the Southern President, one of my favorite artists right now. He's completely independent. He's an artist, and I don't even just mean musically, he can paint, he writes, the first time I encountered him on Instagram, he had this amazing, it was right at the top of quarantine, and he was doing these quarantine couch sessions in his living room, and he was just spitting true facts and knowledge and engaging with his followers, and it really drew me in. So I think that you're going to pull a lot from this engagement, but I do want to preface by saying we did have to record this one a little differently. If you remember very, very, very back at the beginning of time, I used to record with Anchor. And fortunately, Anchor came in to save the day when Ringer, my new beloved partner application that I pay $20 a month for, was not allowing Too Deep to connect with me. So we were both just waiting on each other to connect. Fortunately, Anchor came in and saved the day. They let us do a quick record with friends feature, and it turned out seamless. So shout out to Anchor for saving the day. Ringer, I still love you. I still love y'all. 99.9% of my conversations have been flawless. This would be the first failed conversation, so I really don't have anything bad to say. We edited and modified the audio as much as possible, but just keep in mind if you hear any fade outs or tones, this is a free app that I used to get this call across, and it was the fastest way to get it recorded, and also the clearest way to get it recorded considering we're in two completely different areas and also social distancing. So sit back, relax, and unwind, guys. We're gonna keep going, stepping in full effect with Too Deep, the Southern President, a continuation of Death Perception right after this.
What's going on, everybody? It's your guy, it's your boy, Too Deep, the Southern President. If you never heard of me, I'm one of the best artists out of Memphis, Tennessee, legendary for what I do. And when it comes to the player music, I'm like the GOAT, you know what I'm saying?
Man, it's definitely a vibe. I have no questions. The minute I put it on, I felt like it was everything I knew from being out, just in the South and having an experience of being in places like Alabama and Tennessee, deep Texas and Louisiana. It was such a vibe. Everything about the album was so dirty, but also so just addicting. I was I couldn't stop listening. I was like, shit, this shit goes hard.
I appreciate it.
Talk to me a little bit though, that confidence that you came on with. One, I fuck with it heavily, but tell me how that evolved for you and what led you to being who you are today in the artistry and the music that you're creating.
Basically, all of my music that I create is sincerely based off of life experiences. And I think I was kind of bred and born and raised off of 90s era rap music. Mm-hmm. Pop, your Jay-Z's, your Outkast, A-Ball and MJG's, your T.I.'s, more Clay, UGK,
yes.
Nas,
Nasty
Scarface.
Nas. Okay.
Yeah, so it's a plethora of artists that I look up to that were my idols. And all of those artists, the thing that made them great were they knew they were great before you believed they were great.
Come on.
And so a lot of the confidence comes from not trying to be cocky, but just the thing about the average person is you have to put it's like a psychological thing. You have to speak things into existence. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't come across with a certain type of belief in yourself, it's hard for the next person to co-sign you. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to come across like, look, I know this is good. I know this is dope. You know you like this. And I'm going to tell you why you're going to like this. And so from day one, that's what I tried to articulate in my music, and then add storytelling with it, add lyricism with it, add, descriptions of what I was seeing, what I was going through, and what other people were going through that they could relate to.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And I fuck with that from the perspective of owning who you are before you are the person that you wish to become. I say every day, like, I've heard it a million times. Like, if you want to drive a nice car, go sit in some nice cars. Like, if you want to own a nice house, go. Like, if you feel like you're about to own a lot of money, then you should open accounts and put $5 in them. It's okay if you hold it, but it's about owning and starting to embrace the culture and the lifestyle and that perception that you want people to have. And I really like what you said. If you don't seem like you fuck with your shit, I mean, realistically, who else is going to fuck with it? You can't seem like you're unsure and then expect people to come in and be your reassurance. You have to be bold and forthcoming with it. So I really, really love that.
Exactly. I used to.
No, go ahead. No, please.
I was just saying, I used to, watch specials on people who used to close deals and do big business. And it used to help me with understanding like music and making music, because one thing about in any business, if you're going to sit down and try to convince somebody to do a deal with you, you can't go in there seeming like you're unsure of what you're trying to get somebody to invest in. Like, if I'm trying to get a loan from you for $100,000, if I come in there, turn it down, and seeming like, well, this might not be the best idea, but if you could just let me hold $100,000, you're not gonna give me your $100,000. Okay, It's just how it works. And so. But if you're coming to me confident, like you know what you're talking about, and this is a for sure thing, and this is great, and you might honestly not have your shit together. But the sheer fact that you came in there so confident and you made a believer out of somebody, and they're willing to invest in you. So I just think music and every other thing in life, it just all coincides the same way. Like, you just got to, like how you said, I'm in my first time going to Miami. And I had never been to Miami. Coming from Memphis, that was like a big thing. Like, wow, you've been to Miami. And so I went to Miami, and just the first time I went there, the first time I went to LA, the first time I went to New York, every time it was motivational, because like you said, when you see cars and you see buildings and things moving faster and happening faster, you're inspired. But being in your natural environment of people you've grown up with, doing it day after day, you get okay with it. You get stable with it. You're like, this is as far as I can go. So when you see things, it's like, oh shit! Like, I've been half stepping. Like,
right, and damn, I could do something else.
Yeah, like, you've been telling yourself a Honda was cool, and it might be cool, but when you finally get in a Rolls Royce, you're like, oh, this what I was missing out on, right?
I'm telling you, and I think sometimes people don't realize that in the pursuit of their passions and in navigating their crafts. I think people short sell the opportunities that can exist outside of the space that they're in. So what would you say to somebody who is to branch out? They're saying, look, I hear what you're saying, and that all sounds well and good, but confidence has never been my strong suit. How do they develop that? Especially because I feel like everything you're saying, I also hear in your music. I feel that same energy and confidence the minute the beat drops. I
appreciate that. My advice to because I feel like, well, when it comes from me, I kind of naturally was confident a long time ago. But for someone who wasn't or is not, I feel like it's a step-by-step process of habit. And like, when I think about the human brain, I read something that says, like, after about 21 days, something becomes a habit. Like, if you do some 21 straight days in a row the same way, you kind of get used to it. And so if you don't naturally have that into you, you have to put Post-it notes on your mirror. You have to put Post-it notes in your car. You have to write it on your keychain. You have to find inorganic ways to consistently instill into yourself, like, I'm great. I can do great things. I'm going to get something done today. I'm going to accomplish this today. And after building a habit of breathing this into your brain, I think it just becomes natural.
I know for me, I definitely did that. Like when I was sobering up and getting myself together and I had just moved back home, I actively wrote lists. I had notes on my refrigerator. I had notes on the mirror. I would wake up every day and I was like in the mirror and I was like, I just want to thank God for what I'm about to be. Like, I just got to get. I would walk around that room with my eyes closed, like, and just tell myself, like, I was thankful for, like, everything that was around me that wasn't around me yet. And, like, even when I moved into this apartment, like, I would thank God for, like, stuff I wanted in here that I didn't have that I have now. And it was just, like, affirmative speaking. But, like, consistently working. I knew the drive I wanted to get after, and I knew what I was about. But that also came from an understanding of self. And it sounds to me like you definitely have a deep understanding of self. Knowing that, however, a deep understanding of self still involves dealing with life's challenges, difficulties, just the works. Do you consider yourself as a person that sees the glass as half empty or as half full?
I'm definitely a person that always looks at the glass as half full. I would say that because I went through so many rough experiences of, like, taking big losses. And those obstacles kind of helped me transcend into, you know what, like, this isn't as big of a loss as you think it is. Like, you've been here before. You've went through this before. You can bounce back. You can overcome this. This is a lesson. So I think, like, reassuring yourself and going through things, like you said, and motivating yourself every time you do reach a small goal that was on your list, it just helps you, as we said, keep things into perspective. Like, even in, getting your car repoed or getting evicted or whatever this seems at that moment, like, oh, it is the end of the world, I want to jump off the bridge. As long as you're living, breathing, and have health, you have the ability to get it all over again twice. That's just how I look at life.
I'm telling you. And I feel the same way, especially when you mention having taken big losses. I don't think people realize it wasn't until I lost everything I thought I loved and owned, and had to, like, double up and get it back, that I was like, oh, damn, like, this is nothing. This is really nothing.
Yeah, it's nothing.
It's absolutely nothing. And so it allowed me to be okay with less. And it allowed me to stress in fewer situations. Like, oh, y'all think this shit is bad. Like, it was like, oh.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I'm going to tell you what got me like that, too. I used to love to gamble a lot. I really don't have many habits, but as I was a little younger and I was making fast money, I used to love to gamble. I used to live in New Orleans for a little while.
Damn,
and so I would go in there and I would gamble and I would get, fam. I was like, and I win here and there. I used to love to play blackjack. And sometimes I had a couple of times where I lost like 10,000 a day, 13,000 a day, 12,000 a day. Now, the first couple of initial times, I felt like, oh, my God, I want to jump off of, how could I be so ignorant? How could I be so stupid?
Right.
Now, eventually, after stopping gambling, what it did teach me was, if I can get through these situations and come back and get this together and have the mental capacity to, like, not think life is about to end tomorrow, it's nothing much really that could affect me, like you said, because at that point, once you've gotten the money out the equation and you realize, okay, I'm back to it's $250 I got in my pocket or whatever it is, it's really all a mind thing, right?
110%. It's mind over matter. But tell me what allowed you in all of these things to finally grasp that concept, because there are some people who are going to stay stuck in loss. No matter what they do, they're going to keep butting heads with self, and they're going to keep self-sabotaging and beating themselves up and focused on the material things. We see those people who are consistently chasing things. What allowed you to take control of your environment and really harness in and say, like, no, this is something I own. These aren't things that I need. These are things that I have, but I'm still capable of succeeding regardless of anything because I'm great.
I think it's a combination of things. Like, despite like some of the things I rap about in the game and the streets, I come from a religious background. And so being able to have spirituality is one thing, having something that you can believe in. And then I guess the other thing that I would say is holding myself accountable and understanding there is a lesson to be learned. So it's not about looking back and, oh, I'm aggravated, I can't believe it's about just looking back and, okay, what can I take from this to make me colder, smarter, slicker, wiser, stronger, faster? You know what I'm saying? Like, so I don't really like to look back at things like, oh my God, my ignorant fucker. Mm-hmm. I just look back at things like, okay. It's like if you ever talk to like a criminal or something who was in jail and they was like, oh man, I was the biggest drug dealer, woo, 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 woo. And then you get some of them who's like, man, I really messed it up and I'll never do that again.
Right.
And then you get another criminal who was like, oh, I fumbled, but I never fumble like that again. I know how to play it. And so I'm not saying that people should be criminals.
No.
But what I'm saying is it comes a point where you sit back and you get to analyze your mistakes and you get to sharpen your skills and just say, okay, look, if I could just take this exit out, I would be the coldest person ever. Like, all I got to do is just, I got it. It's no biggie. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. It's like really once you figure out the method and the formula to what works and what separates you. And I tell everybody, you have to only, especially in spaces creatively, only pay attention to your progress. Don't pay attention to any noise and don't look back. I tell a lot of people, like, I am all about, talking about everything that this show has managed to accomplish, everything that we've managed to do in a short amount of time. But I don't go back and listen to a lot of my old episodes because we got past recording from a phone in the closet for a reason. So there's only, so there's so much drive, and it's like I tune into myself every week and I say, that's the best shit. And then next week, that's the best shit. And then the next week, no, that's the best shit. So it's like, we're going to keep going down that avenue. And it's like, you can really only self-assess. And when you do that, and you have like a good inner circle or a good group of people around you, of course, because you can't really do anything alone. But when you're doing that, there's really no stopping you. So I love all of the energy that you put there. What do you feel separates you, though, from the average artist? Like, for people that would say that they do some, especially your genre as well as you do.
From the average artist, I would think something that separates me is I've always been real big on independence. I've always been real big on I'm not going to sacrifice the things that I like or I stand for to be a bigger artist. Mm. And so I think those things separate me. And I think the number one thing that separates me is what I said earlier, the sheer fact that we're in a time where a lot of people who are artists don't pay attention to detail in their music. I don't know what material you heard from me so far. But like, I'm working on another album right now. My main albums, I got mixtape material where I kind of jack other people's beats and throw a few original unreleased tracks on there. And then I got album material, which is more in depth, more, okay, you got a lady song, you got storytelling, you got a little bit of everything.
A little mix for you.
And so, right. And so I think with cats now, it's more about, okay, let me make a single. Let me halfway sing, halfway auto-tune on it, or halfway this. It's just like the same formula. All these guys have the same sound for the most part. You got 1,000 Young Thug. No
that's no lie,
them,
though.
But,
like, I'm not even, no cap. I dead ass sometimes don't know who I'm listening to. Like, and that's literally, it's not even no shade, no nothing.
I don't know, and I'm not knocking nobody. Like some people's stuff I dig, but it's like we get the Migos, and then you get 2,000 other guys that sound like you get the Future, you get 2,000 other Futures, you get 2,000 other Young Thugs. Like all these cats, it's like once one thing catches on, they emulate it. And the thing that separates me, I don't want to sound like anybody. I don't care to do it. I like when Snoop rap and you knew it was Snoop.
110%.
Eminem rap. And you knew it was Eminem.
Man.
Yeah, Nas rap. You knew it was like, none of them guys wanted to sound like each other.
Ain't no fun if the homies can't have none. I'm telling you. You knew that. Yeah. You knew that.
Yeah, you knew that. You knew, like, certain guys, like, I like when I come on, when I say certain things and I want you to know, okay, that's too deep. Like it's no question. Like,
I feel
that's
like
him.
when How I Feel drops, I feel like that's a very distinct sound, and I can see how that's one of your more popular tracks in that regard. I feel like there was definitely a uniqueness to your sound, which is what drew me in, because I said I feel like this is familiar, but also it reminded me of artists like you mentioned, like artists like Big Crit, like who the minute I hear you, I'm like, oh,
love Crit.
I was like, I know exactly who that is. Like,
love
it's no question.
Crit. Exactly. Okay. If it was it, I left the Crit out. Crit, we around probably the same age bracket, but Crit probably is the perfect artist to say I would compare to in a sense, like down south, southern, but he's respected by his, the other guys in rap as a lyricist. And there's very few southern artists that they put, like the J. Cole's, the Kendrick Lamar's, like they look at Crit like, no, like he got balls. Like,
that's
Crit
Crit's whole aesthetic. I just be sitting there like, wow, he really said that. Wow. Like, and it's his ability to flow on different styles and really take you on a journey. And that's what I enjoy about the music. And even when I hear your music, there's a story there, right? And so there's a journey for the listener to go on, but also there's just some real shit for you to just vibe to, for you to just catch a whole fucking vibe to. And so I really enjoyed that. That's the aura that you create.
Exactly. I think you just said it. That gets it, and that's what I try to create in my music. I think that music is an emotional journey, right? Like you got songs that you play when you go to the club.
Right.
You got songs you play when you leave the club. You got songs you want to hear when you're in the club.
All the time.
You got songs when you're mad and you're smoking that you want to hear. You got songs when you're cool and you're vibing that you want to hear. Like music should be based on whatever emotion that you're trying to bring out or evoke or get into, like, and I think the biggest problem with music is a lot of these cats, they make albums, it's like 17 songs of the same feeling.
Listen, that drives me so I can't explain to you. Sometimes I'll get hype about an album and I'm like, damn, this is the same sound. And it's not even like a knock of people like saying test your sound, or you would say like I only like one type of music. My playlist is very diverse. I listen to I could be listening to anything at any given time. Like I could be listening to Nirvana one day, and then it's like, oh, no, but then I had to run that shit back to the Temptations. But then I decided I was going to fuck with Kendrick on this day. So it's not that. It's like, it's just the concept of good shit and like what we actually want to listen to. And so then when you're hitting me with the same sound, I heard that and I thought it was great the first time. And I loved it the first time. But that's exactly why you see artists wash out so quickly and why there is no substance. But I think what you're doing in the sense of adhering to your fan base, saying like, this is for who it matters to, and I'm gonna make this shit and it's gonna be good and it's gonna be quality and it's gonna be me, and if you fuck with it, you fuck with it. And I think that's amazing because that's true ownership right there.
That's it. It's never, with my music, it's always been about, look, I'm not searching for the hit record. If the hit record comes in the sense of me being in that vibe or in that space and it happens organically, so be it. But I've never been the type of person to be like, hey, so Roddy Ricch beat was like this. Make sure the beat sounds like this and we need a hook like that. And you know what I'm saying? Like, it's cool for those that do, but it's like, I like it to happen naturally. If I hear this track or I'm somewhere and I catch a vibe and that's what I record, so be it. You know what I'm saying? But I just like diversity in my music. One day I'm like you. I might be bumping DVSN the whole day.
Man, you never
Next day
know.
I might be on UGK.
You never know what's going to happen. You never know what's going to happen. And I think that's the thing, too, to your point, that music is an experience and that the life we live, like the lives that we live are an experience. Like, it's there. There's no sugarcoating it. There's no downplaying it. There are different songs to different things. When I'm having a really shitty day, I'm not even gonna fuck with you. Like, say the job is stressing me out, I put on that "Ain't It Fun" record by Paramore. And it's just like a whole vibe, because like that whole track and record is about how like, you know, the world is working against you and you have to now be on your own. And I'm like, damn, yeah, being grown is a motherfucker sometimes. And you just vibe out and thug through it. But it's like to really acknowledge that music is just an experience, no matter what genre it is. It's about the message, and that's what you're presenting, and that's what people are drawn to, with a sound that is unique but familiar, that is embracive, but yet, you know, definitely all you. And I can't appreciate, you know, it's show my appreciation to you enough for sitting down with us. Thank you so much. This has been an absolute pleasure. I've had so much fun. I feel like I've talked to you a million times and we have never spoken at all.
I genuinely appreciate it. I appreciate you taking time out to listen to the music, to understand it, to value my opinions, and hopefully to share it with others. You know what I'm saying?
Of course. Let the people know where they can find you, because I know they're going to want to get plugged in. I know they are.
Oh, definitely. As I said, my name is Too Deep the Southern President. You can follow me on Instagram at that same name, 2, like the number 2, DEEP, the Southern President. For all those who might be listening, that be wondering, why would this fool call himself the Southern President? That started when I was younger. I always had this idea that, you know, like that they could be the president, they can run a nation, but I'm the president of the South. I'm the best thing out the South.
Come on.
You know what I'm saying?
Come on.
And so that's why I came with that. Twitter, 2DeepTSP, just like the Southern President. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube, and I got an album coming. I guarantee it's going to be some of my best work. It's called Being Real Costs Nothing. The whole theme of the album is it costs $0 to be real, to be one with yourself, and to be one with everybody else around you.
Come on. I'm so excited for that project. I'm so excited. I've already got you on my favorite artist list on Tidal. Like, I got you there. I got everything sectioned out. So I'm already plugged in and tuned in. And guys, one thing I can tell you, his marketing is amazing. Before we go, like the first thing when I went to your landing page, I'd love to see any artist with their shit in order. I want to see, I don't care if all you have is a SoundCloud and a YouTube link. I better be able to get to what the fuck you have when I go to your page. That's just kind of how I feel as a listener, like because I feel like I'm putting out content and I have to make that accessible for my listeners. And when I go to a music artist page and I see like maybe 1 or 2 links here, or like you only got random videos, that's a turn off for me, because I want to engage with you. I want to have this experience, and there's nothing available for me. So when I went to your page and I saw your landing page was not only done, but customized down to the T, and that you had links up, you know, on everywhere. I was like, he's there's nowhere he's not. And I have all of this accessible right here. It was amazing. So thank you for that. Thank you for being so gracious to come sit down and talk with us today and share your wisdom with us. Guys, remember, life is hard. This much we know, but self-care doesn't have to be. This has been another week of expecting better, doing better, and believing better. I'm your host. It's Just Nakia. You can follow me at It's Just Nakia on Instagram and Facebook. We also have personal pages dedicated to the show at the Expect Effect Podcast on Instagram and Facebook. And remember, being optimistic doesn't mean you fail to acknowledge stress. It does equate, however, to honest and healthy coping mechanisms. We'll be back next Sunday for another round of Self-Care Sundays, and I hope you all have a fantastic week. We'll see you.